You hear a lot of people say this, and I totally agree with it. They say, fail fast, and it's so true. But it also ties into the procrastination conversation. What is procrastination? Procrastination is nothing more than the delay of the gifts that God is ready to present us with. And we're saying, no, we're not ready for those. How about tomorrow? Because when you're on your path, you're doing what you need to do, you tend to be in alignment, and the gifts come abundantly. So that's why sometimes we say, hey, fail fast, because if you started the project last Monday, you would have found out that the piece that is missing takes a week to come in the mail, and now your whole project's been pushed back a week. You can't even start. But if you started on Monday, you knew, oh, I'm missing this piece, so it'll be here next Monday, and now you can begin working on your project. Fail fast ties into procrastination very quickly. Also, you have a lot of people that are afraid to fail. They're afraid to make mistakes. But you have to make mistakes. You have to fail. That's the only way you learn. That's the only way you gain experience. So I want people to fail. I want people to mess up. Don't be afraid of messing up. A lot of people want perfection straight out the gate. You start a podcast or a show, and the first one, they want it to be perfect straight out the gate. That's not possible. Just go. Done is better than perfect. Fail fast.
Didn't listen to me then, I bet they feel me now. Time don't let me lose it. The booth not about to prove it. I set goals and pursue it. You the best to never do it. Invest my money talking fluent, stupid, ducking the Judas. It broke my heart, but over my eyes, you have no honor, I have no choice. Chasing the commas till I'm gone. I've been left for a minute. On my way home, mama, I promise, got caught up in it. Damn. Everybody eats when I'm batting at the plate. First, second, third, home, $1 million babe.
What's up, people? Hotep Jesus. We are back.
Hotep, you're a genius. HotepJesus.com.
What's up, people? What's up, people? What's up, people? How the volume sound? Give me one in the chat. The volume sounds okay. Give me one in the chat. The volume sounds okay. Shout out to my Rumblers. We tuned in on Rumble. Hotep TV on Rumble. All the Hoteps are over on Rumble. We're all on one channel right now. Hotep TV. Myself, Uncle Hotep, Canon Hotep. Make sure y'all get in tune over there. Subscribe on Rumble for that alternate channel. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? What up, Sonny? Sonny in the chat. Shout out to Sonny. I was listening to her whatchamacallit yesterday, her Twitter Spaces, and it was really, really good. Really, really good. Yeah, I think the mic should adjust at some point. It should adjust, so it should stop clipping. Too much bass lately. All right, hopefully it clears up in a few. Anyway, Hotep Con tickets on sale right now. Hotep Con is our annual event, annual Hotep Nation event, kind of like a fundraiser event. We're a 501c3 nonprofit supporting the homeschooling community. See that on your screen now. So the dates on that are August 17th to the 20th, obviously this year. We're going to have one-on-one with Hotep Jesus. I'm going to talk to our guest, obviously the one and only Sonny Johnson. We're going to have Project Rook, and I'm going to get Tanai Ricks up here shortly. Tanai Ricks will also be joining us for a nice science conversation. You can get deep into chemistry, organic chemistry. So I'm going to fulfill your mind with some political knowledge, information. Project Rook is going to handle some mindset information, and then Tanai is going to help us out with some of the science information. So I'll cook up some nice conversations. Obviously, we're going to have a live episode of Hotep's Been Told You on day one. After Hotep's Been Told You live, our premiere show on this channel, we're going to have the celebrity chef tasting. And that's basically like a 5-course meal where he comes around and he just oh my God, just let you taste all types of foods from around the world. Absolutely delicious. Absolutely. I don't even know how you can describe it any other way. It's just absolutely amazing food. So right after Hotel's been told you, we'll go ahead. We'll have the celebrity chef tasting. That's going to be with celebrity chef Mark. He's a sous chef over there at Ahern Hotel. Then we're going to have the next day, day 2, we'll have breakfast, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. I'm always there. Breakfast is my favorite meal of the day. Then we'll go into our chats. Sonny Johnson, Project Rook. I'm not sure what order, but tonight Rick's will be mixed in there someday, one of these days. And then at 6 p.m., we'll have our retreat by the pool as always. Music and appetizers. That's always a good time. Last year, Sonny had a huge crowd under the cabana, and they were just picking her brain. You know, she was a really big draw and favorite at Hotep Con. And then at 8 p.m., we're going to have, I think we're going to do game night this year. That's going to be fun. Maybe play some cards, some spades. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll talk to the team. We'll talk to our ticket purchasers and see what they want. Then day 3, again, breakfast, more chats. And then you're going to hit the gun range with Canon Hotep. Get a VIP experience. Last year I had a VIP experience with Canon Hotep, shooting all types of weapons, fully automatic as well. So that's always a good time for our two-way advocates. And then we have our farewell dinner feast with the Hoteps at 8 p.m. on day 3. And that's always fun. Day 2, we even take a little field trip. I should probably put that in here. Probably like 3 p.m. we'll take like a field trip. 2 p.m. we'll take a field trip. Go to one of the casinos, hotels, whatever. Last year I think we did Caesar's Palace. So we'll go over there, have some fun, walk around, talk, maybe shoot some content. We'll have Taylor there. You'll see him right here in the photo. And create some content, have fun, talk. And then finally, you got to lock in your price right now. You got to lock in your ticket right now. 8 days until the next price hike. You missed the last one, the last low price. But, I mean, you can't beat it. I mean, the tickets are going to end up being, I'm probably going to adjust it to $1,500, for the total ticket. Right now, you can get all access pass, all 5 food experiences, 3-night hotel stay. So this is an all-inclusive VIP pass. So you come in here, you get your all-inclusive VIP pass. It includes hotel if you want to stay at the Ahern. I do suggest it. Very nice hotel. And then if you have a guest, if you're bringing a guest, so you'll select one of these and you'll select just the event pass, and that'll cover your guest. And then you'll be all set. You'll be locked in for your tickets. That's Hotep Con coming, and we'll get a new flyer going up here. You'll see a new flyer up on the page shortly. Maybe Renee Vogel will cook one up for us. But then you'll see August 17th to the 20th, Hotep Con 2023, our annual event. I can't wait. And just really fast, just to show you on the website, you see this food. Oh my God. A little bit of breakfast in there. A little bit of fruit. Just amazing food. Amazing food. But you can go to hotepnation.com/HotepCon to get your tickets. You dig? Anyway, I know you guys didn't come here for the promo, but got to handle the bills first. Got to handle business first. Shout out to Syscoin, my sponsor. A lot of good new information, or I should say announcements coming from the Syscoin team. I don't know if you guys are into crypto. You should be. It's about to take over our lives, especially the CBDC. But yeah, I definitely suggest getting into. Sonny Johnson said the food was fire. Yes, it is. But yeah, Syscoin, we got some great new announcements coming up. I can't say anything. I'm under NDA, basically. I can't say, but when you guys see some of the stuff coming out of this project, you're going to be absolutely delighted and amazed. So that's Syscoin. Go to hotepjesus.com/Syscoin if you want to start building on that. If you're a dev, you want to start building on the blockchain, go to hotepjesus.com/Syscoin. Okay. Without further ado, let's get into today's presentation. Psyops. Psyops. Real quick, do me a favor. Hit the share button. Likes and comments and all that stuff. All that stuff is good. But do me a favor and share it out. Hit the share button. Share the stream out. We got to beat the algo. People complain and say they don't get notifications for my stuff. Blah, 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 blah. So, I don't like to complain about that stuff. It is what it is. I got a comment from somebody the other day. They were like, I don't understand how your YouTube channel isn't as big as your Twitter account. I don't know. Your guess is good as mine. I don't know why my YouTube account isn't as explosive as everything else I do. But it is what it is. I tend not to complain about it. It is a bit of a concern. I do spend a lot of time thinking about that, why that isn't. But, I'm not going to blame the algorithm or, the tech gods for that. I'm just going to say it's my fault. Maybe I need to be more consistent or bring you guys better content, or I don't know. We'll figure it out. Anyway, when influencers fall for a psyop is our conversation at hand today. And we are going to open up the phone lines. You can call in, you can weigh in, tell me, should we forgive these people? Should we not? So we are going to open up the phone lines. I want to hear from you guys. Maybe we'll debate. Maybe we'll agree. Somebody said maybe you need to eat more on camera. Support the channel. Hit the super chats. Also, you can support the channel, Cash App, Hotep Jesus, or purchase my Noatropic at TriMasterFocus.com. Is that enough promo for y'all? So much promo. All right, let's get into it. First of all, what is a psyop? Let's just be thorough here. And so, Merriam-Webster defines psyops as military operations usually aimed at influencing the enemy's state of mind through non-combative means. And I included this dictionary definition because it says here, such as distribution of leaflets. Hold on. Okay, that should be better. Distribution of leaflets. Sometimes you gotta reset the mic, and I think I just did that. So the volume should be much better now. Distribution of leaflets. Today we're in the social media age, so that's going to come via tweets and Instagram posts and Facebooks and Snapchats and TikToks and rap videos. We'll talk about rap videos in a moment. Specifically one by Run DMC when it came to the Jibby Jab. Also, Juvenile did a remix of Back That Thing Up. There was another one I want to say by some rappers that were, what was it? What was that one rap video? What was it again? It was I want to say that new artist Santana, and it was like vote or no voting, no vucking. That's what it was. No voting, no vucking. So these things come in various forms, right? These psyops, they come in various forms, and they don't necessarily have to come from the military. I think that, it's one thing to say that, yeah, thank you, Cannon. I think it's one thing to say it's a military operation, but it doesn't always have to be a military option. Although it is very military-like. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's very military-like because it is an attack. So, what is the biggest psyop so far? I think the two main ones in our time obviously have been politics, voting, and the inoculation around the pandemic. Now, one interesting thing I saw that will include this conversation, I saw some, I guess maybe they were black liberals or just black folks, but I saw a tweet. Maybe Jabari's in the chat. He can help me find that tweet. I can get up on the screen. But they were complaining. They said that, their checks basically have dried up. These black folks usually got speaking engagements to speak about black issues, And they said it kind of dried up this year or over the last year. And they're not getting as many phone calls to speak about black issues at events. They're not commissioned. They're not. So what is that about? Why are they not calling on these black folks? And it's something that we predicted on this channel. Hotep's been told you. We said it. Once the Democrats are done with you, it's back to the back of the bus. Just is what it is. You're a useful pawn. Under the Trump regime, under the Trump admin, being a black liberal is quite lucrative. You could push the whole victim narrative thing, et cetera, et cetera. And liberals, progressives, socialists, whatever you want to call them, were hiring black folks to come out. They were commissioned to come out, give speeches and do their talks and create videos and be consultants, diversity consultants. There's a huge market for that. There's a huge market for it. And then Biden got elected and no longer was a need. We saw this with Mark Lamont Hill. I believe he worked for some media outlet. And then after Biden won, the owner was like, yeah, we're shutting this down. It wasn't lucrative anymore. It wasn't profitable. Race issues were solved under the Biden admin, so to speak. But we always talk about this, how every 4 years they roll out black folks. The Democrats roll out black folks. They take the struggles, the gripes, the complaints, the problems of the black community. They put them on every news network to rile up the base and drive people into the voting booth. It's basically what it's about. We saw it with BLM, same thing. BLM was asking for a meeting with Biden. They were complaining, we didn't get no meeting with Biden. Oh, wow. I wonder why. It doesn't need you anymore. They don't need you anymore. The job's done. They're in. Maybe 2024, towards the end of 2023, those checks is going to start coming back up. But it was interesting when I saw that thread of black liberals complaining about not being called on, not being commissioned, not being paid to speak anymore, I started to think about their mentality. And I'm thinking to myself, do they know the jig or do they not know it? Because on one hand, if they know the jig, the question becomes, then what do you do? Like, once you know better, what are you going to do to be better? Right? That's the next thing that comes down the pike. That's the next thing you have to think about. I can just adjust my volume here. Okay, that should 1 2 1 2 1 2. All right, that should be better. So that's the next thing you're going to think about is, what do I do now that I know I'm a useful pawn for the Democrats? Am I going to continue to support them, or am I going to do something else? Sidebar, something else I was thinking about was, what's it like being a moderate? What's it like being a centrist or a libertarian? And the truth of the matter is, when that person asked me, said, Hotep Jesus, how come your YouTube channel doesn't do as well as your Twitter stuff? And I think it's because I'm a moderate. I'm a centrist. I'm not a quote unquote black conservative, that mold that sort of created that black conservatives fit into, the talking points. I just don't fit into that, I agree with some of the things, but I think there's more to the conversation. And this goes back to just basic marketing practices. And the truth of the matter is, anybody who takes a hard line left or hard line right is going to do much better than a moderate. People want their biases affirmed. It's more appeasing to the monkey mind. It allows them to throw rocks at their enemy. They like that. They need that. They don't like the nuanced approach. It's a little bit too much thinking. It's not useful for everybody's agenda. Center is boring. That's really what it comes down to. Being a moderate, being a centrist, being a libertarian, it's too much thinking. It's too intellectual. It's just very boring. But taking a hard right stance or a hard left stance is going to be very popular. Now, if I were to take a hard right stance, and I've experimented with this in the past, which has led to some of my fame, I think I'd be way more popular. If I went hard left or hard right, I'd be way more popular. So that's just a sidebar to understand, like it's kind of hard out here for a moderate voice. I don't see, for somebody who's in it for the shekels, I don't suggest being a moderate, go hard left, go hard right. You'll catch way more fish. Anyway, coming back to the whole black liberal situation, what do you do after you know better, right? That's one question. And this is a call-in show. I'm opening up the phone lines after I'm done going through my presentation here. Right? Okay, so there's that. So then it's like, well, what if they don't know what's going on? What if they're like completely clueless and like wondering, wait, why am I not being called up? This is someone that has fallen for the PSYOP through and through. They're just completely oblivious. And part of a PSYOP is to create a bubble, right? You want to wrap people in a bubble so they don't see the other side of the conversation. For example, when we talk about black people, they're given a lot of material from an early age, slavery, civil rights movement, you name it, right? In that vein of things. But you don't really get the Black Republican story. You don't get the Thomas Sowell, the Walter E. Williams, the Sonny Johnson. You don't get that at an early age. King Randall stories. King Randall goes in front of Roland Martin, and Roland Martin's trying to lambaste him or embarrass him because he's a black conservative, and the kid's just like, I just built a school for kids, like black boys, like you should be like cool with this, you should be down with this. And Roland Martin chose the stance to try and attack the kid. It's just, but again, Roland Martin, why is he so popular? Hard left, right? Remember I told you about taking that hard line stance, go hard left. You can get a lot of popularity. Attack your enemies. A lot of popularity there. But when you grow up black in America specifically, I don't know about growing up black anywhere else, 'cause I didn't grow up black anywhere else, but growing up black in America, you're given this very leftist, you're looking at the world through a leftist lens, through a very socialist lens. And you don't see the moderate stances too much. You don't see the conservative stance too much. That's really got to be, hopefully given to you by your parents, but your parents probably weren't exposed to this information. And it's just funny because it wasn't until my adult years that I learned about Thomas Sowell and Walter Williams and all these things. And it's just like, what would I be like if I learned this at an early age? How would my mind be shaped? And I think what happens is, because the public school system is so left, that your views are, they're one-sided. They're what's the word I'm looking for here? They come with a blind side. You have a blind side. And then what happens is sometimes you're exposed to things on that blind side, and it's so contrary to what you've been useful for, however long you've been on this planet, that it comes as a shock, and sometimes you have cognitive dissonance comes about. And now you find people are resistant to the information because it's like, this is contrary to everything I ever learned. But the fact of the matter is, the truth is somewhere in the middle. Same thing happens with white liberals. You know, they hear one side of the conversation, and if they hear the other side of the conversation, especially from a black person, then it's automatically, oh, this black person has been propagandized by the right. This black person is a sellout. He suffers from anti-blackness, self-hatred, or, you know, whatever other words they create in their think tanks. But the fact of the matter is, there is some resistance when you're presented with this new information. I believe the right as well can suffer from this, right? For example, I like to read Karl Marx. I think Karl Marx, who I believe had a ghostwriter, maybe the Knights of the Golden Circle, if I remember that correctly. Anyway, some Illuminati group is the one that like commissioned him to write the stuff. But whatever, that's just conspiratorial stuff. And I think their assessment of the problems is quite fascinating. The application of solutions is absolutely absurd. The vagueness of their solutions is absolutely absurd. You know, it's just like, hey, we'll do this, and then we're going to live in a utopian society. And it's just like, yeah, it's probably not going to happen. You're probably going to kill a lot of people with your policies. But I think you can learn a lot by studying all of it. You know, even Black history, you know, we're rounding out the end of Black History Month here. And white folks just aren't really taught, I will say, Hotep history. You know, that real gritty, conservative history, you know, that Garvey. I remember I was working at a corporation once, and it was Black History Month, and they were talking about doing some marketing campaign, and they asked me, you know, if one of the few black guys in the room, you know, Brian, who do you think we should celebrate? And I said Marcus Garvey. And this affluent white woman who was my boss asked me, who is Marcus Garvey? And I was perplexed because I grew up on this, you know. I'm like, you don't know who Marcus Garvey is? In hindsight, I'm an idiot for expecting her to even know his name, but it was just such culture shock that something so familiar to me was something so foreign to somebody else. But I think, you know, learning about all these things could help round out an individual to make better political decisions, better family decisions. But I think we all got to learn about everything. So, all right. So that's the black psyop, so to speak, right? Keeping black folks away from the Republican Party, keeping black folks away from conservatism, et cetera, et cetera. Now, let's take a look at the pandemic. Okay. Now, when we had the panorama, whatever. There was a couple of, remember, going back to our definition here, right? It says here, such as distribution of leaflets. Like I said in the very beginning, we did have, I mean, now you still got, last week I saw John Legend come out with a Pfizer ad, you know, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, you know, what's up with John Legend? Is John Legend like, is he cucked, or like, is this his wife's doing, or is he paid to say this stuff? Or because, you know, when the Democrats was running, he was with the Democrats, he was anti-Trump, and then now it's the Pfizer, and he's like, he's with Pfizer. I'm like, yo, you with every agenda, bro? Like, where are you at? Like, are you black? You know, like, you know, and when I say black, I mean moderate, because the black community is very moderate in their politics. They're very skeptical of the jab. So, you know, looking at like John Legend and, you know, several other influencers, celebrities, vax that thing up, no voting, no fucking, Run DMC came out with, and then the radio, New York radio, was just running ads, for the jibby jab over like consistently. And I used to listen to the radio on purpose just to try and see what this PSYOP was and how they were attacking them and who their target market was. And I'd go between Top 40 and Z100 and Hot 97 and 105.1, and I'd listen to them for like an hour each just to see what was going on. And I noticed that the Top 40 stations and the Z100s and the white stations weren't pushing the jibby jab nearly as much as it was being pushed on black radio. So I found that to be interesting. Go get tested and, go get jibby jabbed, and that's your decision or whatever you want to do. YouTube won't let me speak up. Real quick, shout out to my Rumblers. We got cats tuning in on Rumble, Hotep TV over on Rumble. Appreciate you. Empty Matter over there in the chat. I see you. So there was that whole thing, right? Where a lot of propaganda is being pushed out. And, whenever you want to spot a PSYOP, right? Like part of this is like, how to spot a PSYOP. And I think it comes down to if it's mainstream and popular, that's the first red flag. I'm not saying it's the only red flag, because you want to have a few different points of perspectives, I guess, here. A few data points to make your decisions in life. You always want to have a bunch of different, the more data points, the better. And the more diverse they are, the better. But a huge red flag for me is when it's mainstream, when it's ubiquitous and it's being pushed out through the celebrities and through commercials. And it's just like the powers that be never really had the people's best interests at heart. They have their own interests at heart. And that is just what it is. So then I'm looking at the people that were fooled by this. And that's the subject of the matter today. When influencers fall for the PSYOP, should we forgive them or should we not? Right? So let's take a look at a couple of names here. Scott Adams, Ben Shapiro, Donald Trump, and Elon Musk. Right? These are all people who allegedly got the jab and some pushed for it. Scott Adams, huge proponent for getting the jab. Now he's trying to, I guess, circle back and clean some of that stuff up. I don't know. Ben Shapiro. He was, I forget the term he used. He called us dopes or something like that, or, some derogatory term for people that didn't want to go get jibby jabbed. Trump, I would say, had the best opinion on the jibby jab. He was basically saying, look, I'm in bed with Johnson & Johnson. These are my homies. I think the thing is good. They wanted me to push this out. I pushed it out. It's here. If you want it, you can get it. If you don't want it, don't get it. Which I thought was the best take. I ain't going to get it. But, if you're going to say something like that, I think you have to preface it as this is your choice. I can't remember Trump saying, you're an idiot if you don't go get this. Da 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 da. And then Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk admittedly said he voted for Biden. He admittedly said he got the jibby jab. And people have asked, they said, how is it that Elon Musk is allegedly a genius?
Hotep, you're a genius. HotepJesus.com.
But he voted for Biden and voted for and elected to get the jibby jab. How could somebody as smart as Elon Musk potentially fall for this PSYOP? It's a good question. And the fact of the matter is, I always say this to people, watch the opinions when you get from people. there's something called a qualified opinion and an unqualified opinion, right? So if it's medical advice, you probably want to consult somebody who's a physician, somebody who's a doctor. You're not going to ask a lawyer, what should I do about my heart condition? You're not going to ask a physician what you should do about your court case. You're going to go to experts in that field. And Scott Adams, Ben Shapiro, Trump, and Elon are not experts in the jibby jab lane. They're not, right? The other thing is you want to have contrarian opinions that contradict each other. Shout out to the super chats. I'm going to get to the super chats in a minute. We're going to open up the phone lines, let you call in and tell us how you feel about this matter. Should these people be forgiven? Should they not? But what is the qualified opinion? What is the unqualified opinion? Right? And you want to have the debate. So if I'm looking at this thing that they say we should get, I'm saying to myself, okay, here is a list of people who agree with it. Okay. And the people who don't agree with it, where are they? Right. I do this with Bitcoin, crypto. I want to hear all sides of the debate. Let me draw my own conclusion. I want you to argue your side. You argue your side. I'm not listening to either of you. I'm going to draw my own conclusions from the information, but I do want to ask the experts in the field and then see how the experts respond to each other. I didn't see room for debate when it came to the jibby jab. One side was promoted and the other side was banned. Let's just call a spade a spade. It is what it is. They were banned. You were banned. Even YouTube has rolled back some of their TOS on the jibby jab. Twitter, obviously, after Elon Musk, has rolled back their 1984 ways around the jibby jab. All right. But it was outright banned. And that's another red flag where you say one side of the debate is banned and the other side is promoted. That's a huge red flag. Huge red flag. I would never want to ban a communist from a conversation. In fact, I need the communists in the conversation to show people, look, this is what stupidity looks like. You need examples of stupidity to show people what stupidity looks like, to show people what ignorance looks like. So I want the communist opinions. Because the human mind needs relativity to understand things. How do you know what is up and down in space? How do you know what's up and what's down? It depends on what's relative to another, right? Where your head is positioned, where your feet are positioned. So you need some relativity. You need compare and contrast. So anytime you enter into a conversation where there's no availability for compare and contrast, you can't draw a definitive conclusion. Therefore, you're probably dealing with a psyop. It's just the facts of the matter. Just the facts of the matter. Now, I have always been anti-V. I'm going to say always, but 2011, I started doing research, 2012. And, I started with the flu joint and I was like, yo, the research on the flu joint is not looking good. And then the more research I got, the more opinions I got. Shout out to Jehudi. A lot of good information there. I was like, yeah, I don't think these things are sufficient for health, for optimal health. And I got a lot of pushback prior to the panorama, prior to the big event that changed our lives over the past few years. And I had pushback. I had pushback even from what people would call conservatives. Oh, no, they always bring up, polio and all this stuff, the fake news argument. So maybe I am a bit of an anomaly in this conversation because I had already done the research on this and some people have never done the research on this. And again, that bubble, right, that I was talking about before, where you have people who have, you grow up with taking these inoculations. You're on the schedule. You went to school, you took them, you grew up, nothing was allegedly wrong with you. So you think safe and effective, right? But you've never looked at the other side of the argument. Some people didn't even know there was another side of the argument. And that's more dangerous than anything. Is, how they say you don't know what you don't know? That's the scary thing. When you don't even know that there's a counter argument to something that you believe in, which is why I always say question everything, believe nothing. That's my main mantra. I got to write that down for, we got a book coming out. I got to put that in the book. Question everything, believe nothing, right? Now, obviously, that's a very blanket statement. At some point, you're going to have to believe something, right? Obviously. But you want to question things to make sure that what you believe is true in fact, right? Question it. Really scrutinize what it is that you believe, right? But we didn't have a lot of scrutiny. Scrutiny was not allowed in the past 2 years or 3 years or however long it's been, right? So let's move on to my next talking point, the Eliza Blue situation. Now, the Eliza Blue situation started off organic. Brittany Venti, whatever her qualms were with Eliza. But then the bot farms kicked in. And what I'm about to say really has little to do with Eliza Blue and everything to do with how Psyops are formed or reinforced. So with the Eliza Blue situation, I caught a bot. And the bot was basically like a right-wing bot. And basically it just propagates and promotes trendy things. And I think this person or organization is using it for various purposes. One could use it to monetize, right? So how would you monetize a bot farm, right? So for example, you have, let's say, a politician or a corporation, and they put out a new product or they're running a campaign and they need engagement because we have these things called algorithms, and the algorithm is going to bump you up if you get engagement. So what you do is you say, listen, I can get you 1,000 comments and 1,000 likes within 5 minutes of the post of your tweet. It'll go out automatically and basically be disseminated between all these different accounts, and you get boosted in the algorithm, right? So you can sell this to a corporation, you can sell this to a politician, et cetera, et cetera. So there are these bots that exist in left and right Twitter, right? And not so much moderate Twitter, because again, moderate is boring. Like nobody's going to really spend time to put, the effort in to create these bot farms. But the bot farms are very persuasive. And what they can do is they can wrap you in a bubble. So what I could do is I can basically wrap your account. Let's say you have a Twitter account and I know who you follow and I know who follows you. I can surround you with bots to make a story appear larger than what it really is, or appear more important than what it really is. And I'm sure we had this with the panorama, where these bot farms come in and they push the agenda, push the agenda. So sometimes when I see a story getting really big, especially if it's important, I start digging through the engagement and it doesn't take long, 2 minutes. I can go through and I can just usually see bot engagement, usually low follower count with these bots, retweets of the same type of content on their pages, whatever. And then the PSYOP is carried out like that. But you can actually be, and this is what they say, you get wrapped up in a thing, or you can literally be wrapped up in a subject matter by being wrapped with bots. And that's another part of this PSYOP, right? Where the definition here by Merriam-Webster is talking about dissemination of leaflets. Well, the bots now, and with AI, the bots are going to get even crazier. I got to tell you, it's going to get even worse. But you'll have this distribution via bot farms. Okay, so that's the bot situation. I think I've exhausted that. There's not much to say about that. I've written about this. I published my first marketing book called Dominate Twitter. It's available on HotepJesus.com. And there's a chapter in it on bots. And I tell you exactly what software to use, I think where to get it, and just basically how to use the bot farm. So I wrote about this 5 years ago. You guys can go check that out. So I'm really good at detecting bot farms because I have experience with them. When we had music, when I was a music artist, hey, I was starving. I did what I had to do to get my music out there. And part of it was automation. That's the category it falls under: automation, marketing automation. Two more points here. Then we're going to open up the phone lines, let y'all call in, weigh in on this conversation, and tell us about, how you feel about forgiveness. But the next PSYOP, and the most relevant PSYOP right now, I believe, is DeSantis. And I want to pull this up on your screen really fast. And this is the article from Rolling Stone. And I'm sure some of you have seen this headline: Trump allies attack DeSantis for non-existent Soros endorsement. Right. And now that I'm thinking about it, let's go ahead and see the definition of endorsement here. I hadn't thought about this prior to putting this presentation together, but let's look at it now. So, endorsement, the act or process of endorsing. Something that is written in the process of endorsing, a provision added to an insurance contract, ultimately, and it says right here, sanction and approval. Approval, I think, is the functioning word here. Let's look at endorsing. To approve openly, right? So we know that this endorsement could mean approval. So let's read this here, and you tell me if this is approval. So the quote here, it says, "My hope for 2024." This is from Soros on DeSantis. He says, I'm going to highlight this. "My hope for 2024 is that Trump and Governor DeSantis of Florida will slug it out for the Republican nomination. Trump has turned into a pitiful figure, continuing mourning his loss in 2020. Big Republican donors are abandoning him in droves." And we're going to come back to that last sentence in a moment. But first, let's just see if this is an endorsement. I don't know. I want to, like I said, this is a new thought I just had. So let's see. So it says, Soros went on to call the governor shrewd, ruthless, and ambitious, and said he is likely to be the Republican candidate. This could induce Trump, whose narcissism has turned into a disease, to run as a third-party candidate. Soros added that would lead to a Democratic landslide and force the Republican Party to reform itself. So this sentence here continues and says, while this falls short of an endorsement, and to me, I think that is an endorsement based upon the dictionary definition saying to approve openly, right? Approve openly. He's basically saying, Soros is basically saying, I approve of DeSantis because it's going to help the Democrats win and then force the Republican Party to reform itself. I think the issue is when people think of these things called endorsements, they have a different definition in mind, right? Chat, you tell me. Put ones in the chat if you think that is an endorsement. Is that an endorsement? To me, that sounds like an endorsement. It sounds like approval. Basically saying, yes, go with DeSantis so we can win. I approve of the DeSantis pick over Trump so we can win. That's how I'm reading this. Am I wrong here? Maybe. Now let's come back. I like to deal in words and their definitions and their true definitions, right? Not what we think what words mean, but what they actually mean. What up, Trish? Kamar Daniel in the chat. What up, y'all? Steph Colonel, Renee Vogel, appreciate you. So let's come back. Remember I told you I want to look at that last sentence there. So here in this last sentence, he says, big Republican donors are abandoning him in droves. This is from Soros, a big donor himself, obviously to the left. Big Republican donors are abandoning him in droves. So what does that say? What does that say about DeSantis? Is he the populist pick? Is he truly the populist pick, or is he the establishment pick? Because the establishment is the donor class, right? And this is going to get me, I'm not going to get any brownie points with the Republican Party for this. Being a moderator, this is not going to be a popular video. Most of my videos aren't popular because I'm too moderate, but it's the truth, and I'm not here to hate on the game. The game is the game. I'm not going to hate the player, but the donors have an agenda, and Trump ain't in it. Maybe because he's not as controllable. He's a little reckless, whatever it may be, whatever their reasons are. But he ain't it. DeSantis is it. Donors are moving their money to DeSantis, which tells me that the money is going to gaslight people into supporting DeSantis because, money runs politics. You're going to see, again, talking about influencers and Psyops here. So you're going to have two influencer bases, right? Or three, right? So one is going to be the direct pay of influencers. And this could come in the form of corporate money, basically saying, hey, this corporation is donating to the DeSantis campaign, or they like DeSantis. And if we want ad reads on your channel, we want you to be pro DeSantis. So the money will move to DeSantis influencers, right? So that's the direct pay of influencers for DeSantis influencers. Then you'll have your wannabe influencers, right? Your lower tier grifters. And these people are trying to make a come up in the grifting lane. And they're going to see that the money is moving to DeSantis. So they're going to move their rhetoric to DeSantis because that's where the money goes. Or they're seeing the conversation lean that way. They're going to start to see their followers lean that way, and they want popularity. And if you say something unpopular, if you have a large Twitter account, what happens when you say something unpopular. You get attacked and you don't get the engagement, you lose followers, and it just hurts the bottom line. Which is why I save most of these conversations for YouTube, where I can add nuance and support my arguments and flush everything out. So that's what happens, right? You're going to have those. And then you have the third influencer, which are, the thinking individuals who are independent, myself, Uncle Hotep, Sonny Johnson, you can run down a list. Or more moderate, more nuanced, more common sense, haven't been bought out yet. So those are your three influencer classes. So you're going to be gaslit with money. And the PSYOP is paid for. The psychological operation to support DeSantis going into 2024, which could lead to him winning the Republican nomination, which would be in Soros's favor, which would be in the establishment's favor, as Soros is telling you. So, you can do what you will with that information. And I wrote about this, if you get on my email list, hotepjesus.com, get on my email list. I send communications out to my subscribers. And I warned them. I said there's a growing push to bring DeSantis out that's going to gaslight you into supporting DeSantis. And many of you are going to fall for it. Many of you have already fallen for it. I think that Trump is more of a populist pick and DeSantis is the establishment pick, but they're going to psyop the public. They're going to psyop the populace into thinking that DeSantis is the populist pick. And in a way, I want DeSantis to win because I think that people may learn their lesson. They probably won't, but they may, right? And see, okay, Trump happened. We didn't get what we wanted. You know, whatever reason people are mad at Trump for, and they think DeSantis is the way. Yeah, DeSantis. And then you're going to come to find out DeSantis is, you know, just as bad as the next guy, right? So then, you know, 4 years go by and, you know, you figure this whole thing out. And then maybe you come to your senses and realize what the heck is going on here. We're going to open up phone lines shortly, but we're going to go into forgiveness. What up, Jeff? And we're going to talk about, you know, forgiveness. You know, can we forgive Scott Adams, Ben Shapiro, Trump, Elon, you know, the people who have fallen for the bot farm campaigns? Can we forgive them? The big voices. Can we forgive DMC? Can we forgive Juvenile? Right. So let's move into that conversation, and then I'm gonna open up phone lines, let y'all call in, and y'all can tell me how y'all feel. Should these people be forgiven? Remember, we were talking about, you know, before, you know, there was a huge campaign to push the jibby jab. And then, you know, they were asking, you know, I believe the pro jibby jab people were asking for forgiveness and, you know, should we give them that out and, you know, all of that stuff. So I have a few points here on how to make that decision on should somebody be forgiven, right? And it comes down to arrogance, vitriol, and the apology. So if I were to scale these people, I think that on the arrogance and vitriol scale, Trump has the best score. He didn't shame people, at least to my knowledge, for not getting it. He basically said, I like it. It's a good thing. You can go out and get it, but I'm not forcing you to get it, and you should have a choice. To me, he gets the best score. The next score, I would say, is probably Elon Musk. Elon Musk, I never saw him push for it, so he gets a decent score as well, right? I would give them a green. I would green light them on the arrogance and vitriol scale. Next comes Scott Adams. Scott Adams, I would put him in yellow. Warning, because Scott Adams is someone. Remember, we were talking about before qualified opinion. Who's the qualified opinion? Now, Scott Adams is not a medical guy, but he is someone who practices persuasion and teaches persuasion. And the out I give for Scott Adams is his age. I think that the older you are, the more stuck in the ways you are, the more you've been inundated with propaganda, especially when it comes to something like inoculations. It's so much a part of his life more than ours that it was a huge blind spot for Scott Adams. I think it was a huge blind spot for Scott Adams, and I don't think he could have seen outside of that. But the reason why I have to give him a yellow is because he's persuasive, and that could have put people's lives at risk. Because his persuasiveness wasn't used to give people an out. It was more like, hey, if the guy who masters persuasion is saying he's going to get the jibby jab, maybe I should too. So he's de facto persuading people to support the jibby jab. Okay. So Scott Adams gets a yellow in the arrogance and vitriol scale. DeSantis, he gets a yellow. He locked down at first, but then he did open up later. Now the guy who gets red. Oh, well, wait, hold on. Before we finish that, let's go yellow. Also Juvenile, yellow. Run DMC, yellow. John Legend, yellow. I'm going to chalk that up to they got paid to say these things. I know Juvenile, he's definitely not making anywhere near as much money as he probably at his prime, at his height. He probably needed the check, even when he endorsed, I forget who that Republican candidate, he's probably just out here grifting like, yo, if this white man going to pay me, I'm taking a check. What do you need? You want to remix a song? All right, whatever. I don't care. DMC. Again, I'm going to give him the same out I give Scott Adams. He's old. He's an older guy. No disrespect to his legacy, but he's an older guy, probably not hip to all the information that we've been hip to, didn't grow up with the internet. They've created a bubble around him where, they say, if you don't want to go out and get the jibby jab, you must be a Trump supporter, right? Like they conflate medical with political. So, he's probably thinking like, oh my God, it's a right wing conspiracy not to get it. So they've wrapped him in a bubble and cut him a check. So he gets a yellow. I'm not going to give him a red because I never saw Juvenile or Run D or DMC come out and say, yo, you're an idiot if you don't get this. I didn't see that. So he gets a yellow, right? And somebody says not making excuses for a DMC. Yeah, I'm not making excuses, which is why he gets a yellow. It's like warning, caution, bro, you bugging. You don't get a red. I'm going to show you what red is in a moment. But he gets a yellow because he should know better. But again, wrapped up in politics, the check got cut. So I'm going to let him slide. Right? Trish said Trump locked down the country. I didn't see any evidence of Trump locking down the country. The Constitution says we got a 10th Amendment, and technically the federal government can't lock down the country. Only states can do that. I think that's a talking point. Correct me if I'm wrong. Show me some evidence. I'd love to see that evidence. But the states, that's a state thing. The federal government can't tell states to lock down, which is why so many states were open. If you look at the Midwest, all them states was open, regardless of whatever Trump could say. But Trump didn't have the power to lock down the country. Only governors had the power to lock down their specific state. So that wasn't a Trump thing. So red, who's a red light? Okay. Red light, Ben Shapiro. I got Big Boss Ben. I want the job at Daily Wire. This ain't an attack on you. This is an opportunity for Big Boss Ben. I like the work Ben Shapiro does. I think he's one of the more prominent voices in conservative Twitter. A very successful businessman. But he gets a red light because he exhibited arrogance and vitriol. Arrogance and vitriol. Oh, you're saying Trump locked down as far as like people coming in and out? Yes. That I can say there were some things happening federally coming in and out, but I got to give a pass on that because it's just like, you don't know what this bug is, and there's people coming. You know how Trump feel about China. That was an attack on China. I ain't even gonna hold you. That was an attack on China. That's what that whole thing was about. I was an attack on like, no, y'all not bringing goods in here from China. We got to keep an eye on China. That was an attack on China. That's what that play was. But yes, you're right. He did lock down in that way. So yeah, I get what you're saying, Trish. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, coming back. So Ben Shapiro gets a red. Why? The vitriol, the arrogance. He was very arrogant. He was calling people names for not going to get out the jibby jab. Then he circled back later and said the jibby jab was wrong. The jibby jab was wrong. So he gets a red because he wasn't like the other guys who said, look, I'm going to get it. You could do what you want. He was one of those guys that were pushing it, promoting it, saying you were stupid if you didn't get it. I forget the exact words. Maybe stupid wasn't the word, but that's what Ben Shapiro did. Right. So here's how these people can improve their scores. A formal apology. You have to backtrack. You have to, and I'm going to open up the phone lines right after this point. We're going to go to the phone lines. Let me get that number prepared for you too. Shout out to our Rumblers tuning in on Hotep TV on Rumble. But there has to be a formal apology. Big Boss Ben got to come out and say, yo, I was wrong and I'm sorry. DMC, Juvenile, Scott Adams. Even Scott Adams is more like, he hasn't apologized, right? Like, and Scott, that's my dude. You know, Scott Adams, that's my dude. I love Scott Adams. That's my guy. That's my guy. But I think his score could improve. We could greenlight him if he apologizes. But his take is more like, oh, there's no way you could have known this was a coin flip. And it was just like, well, if you listen to the Hotep's channel, everybody over here knew. The black community knew not to take the jibby jab, as precedent set, Tuskegee and all that other stuff. The anti-vaxxers knew. The research was out there. There's, hundreds of books on the jibby jab of all kinds. So the information was there. It wasn't like the information didn't exist. The information existed. The information was there, Scott. It was there, it was right there. You just had to look for it. So that's why I got to give Scott a yellow, but I think we could greenlight him. We could greenlight him. If he comes out and says, yo, you know what? I was wrong. My bad. But, he also, I don't think Scott pushed it, though. That's why I'm saying that's his saving grace is, he didn't push it. He didn't push it. D. Severa said, listen, you can forgive a mistake if it's something done out of character and not repeated. People pushing the vacation, push people out of society and stop people from earning a living and supporting their families is unforgivable. We're going to open up phone lines on that note. Let y'all call in 202-596-5631, 202-596-5631, and we'll come back right after this quick commercial break.
Didn't listen to me then, I bet they feel me now. Don't let me lose it. The booth not about to prove it. I said goes and pursue it. You the best to never do it. Invest my money talking fluent, stupid, ducking the Judas. It broke my heart, but over my eyes, you have no honor, I have no choice. Chasing the commas till I'm gone. I've been left for a minute. On my way home, mama, I promise, got caught up in it. Damn. Everybody eats when I'm batting at the plate. First, second, third, home, $1 million base.
Let me just get. Oh, there we go.
Call from.
Yo, you want to lie with Hotep Jesus? Talk to me, man.
Hey, it's Jonah.
Jonah, what's up, man? What's up, man? We forgiving these people or not?
I don't know about that. Come on. At the end of the day, I didn't believe any of this stuff because I have my own issues with health, and I know I've been prescribed a bunch of stuff that's no longer on the market, right? So, that to me, I'm like, yeah, no, why would I ever take emergency when I have stuff that was actually fully licensed that's been pulled on me. But I was calling about DeSantis.
Okay.
You'll get to it in the chat too, but let's not forget he was at Abu Ghraib, right?
He was what?
He was at Abu Ghraib when he was in the forces.
I don't know what that is. You got to educate me. I'm so sorry. I'm hugely
Guantanamo Bay.
Oh, he was there. He was there.
Yeah, he was stationed in the Guantanamo Bay. So that says enough about him. To me, I don't vote because I'm not American, and I don't vote because it's all rigged anyways. Why is it critical infrastructure under Jay Johnson and not, no one looks into that, right?
Yeah.
Jay Johnson made the voting systems critical infrastructure by himself, not a president. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is if he was there at those extreme rendition sites, that's automatic disqualification, if I was a citizen and if I could vote.
Oof. Damn. I think I heard that one. I think I had another caller or somebody. I remember them saying something about that. Yeah, he was definitely there. Yeah, man. So do you think we should forgive these people when it comes to the jabbies?
To me, man, if you're taking advice from anyone other than your doctor, and even at that, taking advice from your doctor is a waste of time, But like I say, I've had health issues my whole life. You'll probably hear me sniffle right now because I have lung disease that I've had since the day I was born.
Damn.
So
Sorry to
I
hear
mean, oh, I don't care. I look good for my age.
that. Nice.
I'll take bad health, but good. I'm shallow like that, right?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it's true. That's the other thing too, because I'm here in Canada, right? So when we have people talk about like our universal healthcare system, cool. The government killed my 40-year-old brother last year on what's called medical assistance in dying, and they did it for medical health reasons, which isn't even legal until next month on the 17th. But who's going to stop them, right? Because they're the government, and that was his choice. But I mean, at the same time, it's like, okay, cool. You can't go outside. You can't go to the grocery store because if it saves just one life. Oh wait, you're 40 years old and you don't want to live anymore. Come on in, we'll take care of you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And the thing is too, like I say, I've had medical issues my whole life. Anyone who's had real medical issues and have to deal with doctors, they're not smart. They're not intelligent. They're indoctrinated. You know what I mean? Like our old medication would have been like, our old shamans and our old whatever you want to call them, like practitioners or whatever, witch doctors or whatever you call them, right?
Yeah.
They would have had a full understanding of the system of the body. Not like, oh, hey, I'm a heart specialist. Oh wait, you have lung issues with the heart? Oh fuck, I can't deal with you.
Yeah.
So,
Take this pill.
well, that too. I mean, too. If you want to get into that, I mean, I don't want to necessarily. I don't necessarily want to push anything, because it's hardcore leftist. But there's a good documentary on that Tubi TV.
Mm-hmm.
It's called "Shots from Eugenics to Vaccinations" or something like that.
Okay.
It's a good one, but it goes in about how it goes all the way back in, and it goes back to like the Spanish flu and how that was all Rockefeller just trying to push all the vaccines that they had already built.
Yeah. Tons of information and stuff. Hey man, great call. I appreciate you calling in, bro.
And don't forget, Bill Cooper told us in 1991 about this coming.
You said who?
Bill Cooper.
Willie. Yeah, Willie Coop. Yeah, Hold the Pale Horse.
He told us that in 1991, and I read that, and I'm like, hey, yep. No. As soon as I seen this coming, I'm like, no. I read this. I've read Behold the Pale Horse at least 3 dozen times, So I was like, no, I saw this one coming.
Yeah, I'm looking for my copy now. It's around here somewhere. It might be on my bookshelf. Yeah, man. Appreciate the call, bro.
Okay, thanks.
See, another person. I mean, how are you not skeptical of the government? I don't understand how you wouldn't be. Of any source, like he said, I'm skeptical of my own physician. Use your own common sense. There's information out there. Behold the Pale Horse. I had a copy of that since my 20s. Information was there. I don't know how people could just, miss all this stuff or claim it, it was easily missed when the information's there. So many people talk about it. Alex Jones predicted it, Steph Curley said it's time for people to put money or actions or both where their thumbs are. Support those who are doers, not narrators today. Like and share. Appreciate you, man. Renee Vogel sent in a cash app. Appreciate you. $ Hotep Jesus. Appreciate you. Jonah Ryan said there are at least 60,000 influencers that are the PSYOP. It is called signature reduction. Newsweek broke the story. Damn. I'm going to have to pull that up, man. I should have consulted with you before I did this stream. Phone lines open. I know somebody else tried to call in 202-596-5631, 202-596-5631. Leave the phone lines open for a little bit longer as I work through these super chats and work through promo. Jonah Ryan said weak individuals can also be part of the PSYOP without even knowing that they are the PSYOP. We are all carrying a scrying mirror. Always evaluate. Yes, the public can be gaslit. Absolutely. We got a caller coming in.
Call from
Taylor Madden.
Hey, you want to allow a Hotep Jesus? Shout out Taylor, because first of all, this stream was his idea. One of my handlers. What up, bro? Welcome to the stream, man.
Hey, how's it going? My take on forgiveness is how close were you to the information? I think you said it perfectly about people that are opining that it's not their expertise and whatnot. There are plenty of people out there that's job is to, I think Tim Pool's basically in this IRL, his job, your job sometimes is to just bring interesting people up to the forefront, it's not necessarily your job to vet them or vet their opinions as much as it is to kind of interview them and see what they're talking about. And so there are definitely people that can slip through those cracks that are not are not good faith actors. And those types of people for sure should be forgiven. However, there are definitely people whose job it is to opine on information. I mean, I think about Ben Shapiro, whose job it is to opine on that type of information. And if you don't know, if that's not your expertise, you shouldn't be as hardline as whatnot. And so it's less likely to forgive. Forgive, absolutely, I would forgive, but I am looking for that apology. I am looking for that, correcting your ways, if you will. And so, on whatever case it is, how close you are to the people that are involved in it. If DeSantis turns out to be a grifter, first person I'm blaming is Dave Rubin, because he's on that guy's so hard. It's like, hey, come on, man. Yeah, that's the type of, if you're close to that type of person, I need you to be vetting carefully. If you're close to that issue, I need you to be vetting more carefully.
Absolutely. And since today's stream is basically your idea, shout out to Taylor for that, by the way. Do you agree with my scoring system and, the evaluations I gave those influencers, green, yellow, red, et cetera, et cetera?
The only one that I'd probably be as in the know of would be Ben Shapiro. I mean, I obviously know Trump and I never heard anything, but Trump said a lot, so it's really hard. I never heard anything that would give him a red flag, but he does talk a lot. Whereas I definitely heard enough about Ben Shapiro to be like, oh, gosh, why do you keep saying that about the vax in particular? I know I don't know enough about Scott Adams's take, although you were correct completely about, he should be the anti-Psyop guy. And so he should have known better for that. But Elon, I actually never heard of his take at all. So I would agree. I think I'd probably be more willing to forgive than you personally, just because of how much he fought for the right to take the vaccine or not, while he was telling us we're all dummies for not taking the vaccine. So I did appreciate that, him taking it actually to court and fighting for that, spending money to fight for that. But yes, he was definitely one saying you're all dummies for not taking it, and then saying, well, no one told me that it was wrong. No one told me that it was bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying he did put money behind giving people a choice.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
But he was very pro-vax, and then when it came down to everyone in a big enough company should have to force their employees to get the vax, he was one that put money behind the lawsuit and led the lawsuit. I believe I think his company Daily Wire started the lawsuit and other companies joined. Yes, he did put money where his mouth is to fight for the rights of people that work for big corporations not to be forcibly vaxxed.
Yeah, I think with that point, I'd have to move him into the yellow.
Yeah.
That's a valid point. Yeah. Because if he's fighting for the choice, that was like I said, that's my thing with Trump. Like, yeah, he was pushing it, but he also fought for a choice. And I think that's the important thing. I'm not here to tell anybody don't take this or do take that. But choice is the fact of the matter. And I stand on that. Even on abortion, I still believe in choice. Choice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can I pause you for 1 second and ask you about DeSantis?
Yeah.
Because I think I might be falling for that DeSantis trap, and I'll tell you why. And it really comes down to one thing, which is the messaging, the ability to message to the masses. I think Trump messages to his base, and I think DeSantis messages better to the masses. I know my dad's a lifelong Democrat. He said he'd never vote for Trump. He might vote for DeSantis. Maybe that's the PSYOP. Maybe that's the possibility. But on the debate stage, I felt like Trump had the biggest win in his pocket on the anti-CRT talk with his executive order that he implemented via Chris Rufo and James Lindsay. He had the biggest win in his pocket, and he did not present it well. In fact, he got hit by Joe Biden for presenting it so poorly. And Ron DeSantis has been hitting that line pretty well and explaining what it is enough to hit it as well, because it's kind of an esoteric topic. People don't really know what it is until they know. And I think he did a good job. That being said, in a perfect world, I do want DeSantis to stay governor.
Well, you know, my thing is with the messaging, right, is that's always going to be a red flag for me when somebody's good at messaging, because if you're good at messaging, that means you're good at the PSYOP, right? For example, you know, that's the thing they pushed us, you know, with Obama. Oh, he's a black man and he speaks so well. He speaks so well. You know, that whole situation. And, you know, I was telling people before, you know, especially like, you know, some of my Democrat family, like, yo, you don't like Trump. I'm like, do you realize what happened if Pence gets in there? Like, you won't even be aware of what happens because the spotlight would just be taken off. The magnifying glass would be taken off. But and the other thing is Trump speaks in like this layman language, whereas Pence is well polished. He's your politician's politician. So he knows how to talk about going to war where you don't even know, like he just said, we're going to war. You know, there's like certain political speak, and he knows that political speak because he's trained in it. So when I think about like DeSantis and he's getting his message across, I'm like, well, that's a red flag for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. You can trust someone that doesn't know how to speak politician to be honest with you. And even if they're wrong, at least they're honest.
Yeah, and I understand what he's saying. Yeah. Hell yeah. But nah, man, I appreciate you calling in, and I appreciate the topic. It's a really good topic, man. Keep them coming, bro.
Sounds good.
Hell yeah. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Call from.
Oh, I just missed your call. 520 call back. I just missed your call. 520, I missed that. My bad. I just hit the button too to bring you in. Where am I on these super chats? Oh, there we go.
Call from.
Hotep Goldstein.
Hotep Goldstein, you want to lie with Hotep Jesus? Talk to me, man.
What's up, man?
What's good? What's good, man? What's on your mind?
I wanted to lay out the tinfoil yarmulke take of the day.
Okay.
I think that Donald Trump was probably the biggest psyop of our lifetime.
Oh, wow. Oh, my. Okay. Talk to me.
The way I see it, under Obama, we had 8 years of radicalizing the left. Under a combination of Trump and Biden, we got 8 years of radicalizing the right. And this media apparatus, I believe some of the offshoots that we've been celebrating during the MAGA term, like Crowder, like Project Veritas recently, I think these people publicize their split, quote unquote, with their companies, or with Conservative Inc. in Crowder's case. And they're going to be used as the next layer to help radicalize the right. Because at the end of the day, what I believe the plan to be is they need to dissolve this country in order for this globalism shit to work. Because this is the last bastion of freedom here. This is the blueprint for any other country looking to maintain sovereignty. And this is the biggest hurdle to globalism. So this has been an attempt to dissolve this country since day one. And Trump was the biggest step forward in that, because he is the everyman.
Whoa. Oh, man. Hold on. You know the call is fire when I got to pull out the 10-4 Koofy. Oh, my God. Damn. I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for this call. Damn, you got a point.
Most of the world ain't, but this is a conversation that content creators and shit need to be having, at least on a small level. We can't just completely overlook that. Because I feel like the way I've seen Twitter work since I've been on this shit for about 2 months now, I see that it's pretty significant in where if people can get a little bit of something, the digging comes quick. Look at what happened to the broad with blue hair. So, I mean, if we could get this question floating out there and this perspective floating out there, I think it would be pretty quick to unravel, because it was obvious from day one. It was obvious from day one. Hell, this psyop for Trump may have gone back as far as The Simpsons. Motherfuckers talking about they predicting shit.
Yep.
This may have just been predictive programming. But that's just far out. I don't believe that. But that's just, you know what I mean. But
man.
I mean, the question needs to start being asked, because look at what happened after Occupy Wall Street. You look at the shit that happened after that. I think that was the first time that the powers that be understood, yeah, we might have a problem on our hands with these people. So it looked like from that point on, they were just dismantling everything by dividing everybody, one against the other. You know, they get Trump to come in on this Superman platform for the right. And all this shit is just an attempt to radicalize people, because we had our differences, but we weren't at each other's neck until Obama, then Trump furthering the plan, Biden helping to further the plan. And now I believe DeSantis will be the hammer. I think he's going to win, but I think he's going to be the hammer that's going to come in. He's going to bludgeon the left, because everybody's sick of their shit, so people are going to cheer when that happens. Those same people cheering fail to realize those laws are on the books, and that hammer is going to come for you on the next administration. And then everybody's under the gun at that point.
You know, I was at Occupy Wall Street. My homie ran press over there. And so I used to go down there and visit a lot. Zuccotti Park, New York City. I worked in New York at the time. So every chance I got, I'd be down there. And I was featured in Dinesh D'Souza's documentary, Imagine a World Without Her. I remember, you know, speaking in a crowd. There was a camera there. I didn't know who it was. I didn't even know who Dinesh D'Souza was at the time. They made me sign off on a waiver or something to include me in it. So you'll see a little snippet of me in there. So I was in, but the reason why I say that is because being at Occupy Wall Street and then fast forwarding to BLM, I saw, like what you said, activism changing its meaning. Because before it was just like, Wall Street was the enemy. The banks were the enemy, right? And I wrote the book, Patriot Report, Unmasking Conspiracy of Money and War, which is a historical record of the central banking system. And I always thought, like, that is one of our, you know, biggest problems in America is the money. But then activism, like you said, turned into divide based upon race. And I was like, wait, we had it right at Zuccotti Park. And now it's like activism's saying like white people are bad.
Exactly. Excuse me. Go ahead.
No, that's it. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, all those WEF fools that we talking about are public enemy number one now. All these same fools were watching then. They were in the cut. Didn't nobody know about Klaus Schwab on the mainstream back then? But Klaus Schwab knew about Klaus Schwab, and they were in the cut. They were doing things, but when they seen that, they were like, this is going to be the biggest thorn in our side. Not only this country's beliefs, but look at how their people move, right and left. You had trans motherfuckers down there, gay. You had MAGA dudes. At the time, they weren't called MAGA dudes, but you had them down there. Everybody was chilling. Everybody was against Wall Street. And everybody at that point became public enemy number one to their agenda. So they just had to divide that shit. And it started there with that sex scandal where motherfuckers were talking about, oh, they touching on me and shit. That's what kicked off the Me Too and everything after that. You know how many agents was probably down there observing shit? Hell, that shit gave birth to one of the biggest ones of our time, Tim Pool. Yes. I know that's your boy, but I just got, you know.
No, he did get a start there, yeah. Vice, yeah.
So it's just like, this whole thing's been engineered.
Man.
That's just my take. So.
Yo, man, look, I got to hit the button one more time. Ladies and gentlemen, Hotep Goldstein, man.
Y'all take care, man.
All right, Hotep and Bill. Man, that's a powerful call right there. I had to put the 10 foil on for that one. I know. Oh man, And that's something that I've spoken about with globalism. When you look at the trend of socialism, socialism destroys nationalism. That's the goal of socialism, or one of the goals of socialism, is to destroy tribalism, destroy nationalism. You saw it happen in Russia. You saw it happen in Ukraine. You saw it happen in Germany. It's happening now in America, which what Hotep Goldstein is saying is, what he's saying is, the goal is to divide America, destroy this thing that we know is the United States of America. And that is what's needed to bring about globalism. Oh, man. He said, Hotep drinking that corporate leftist coffee. Hey, man, I love me some Starbucks, man. They got that good reverse osmosis water. And you know what? Starbucks is how I got popping as Hotep Jesus. It was thanks to Starbucks and my stun at Starbucks. So, you know, it's more of a, I drink Starbucks on camera as an Easter egg for the people that know the Hotep saga. The what do they call it? The Inception story. David Zientara always supports the chat. Appreciate you for being a consistent supporter. Ryan Roden said, just took my post lunch master focus. Shout out HJ. Oh man. Yo, shout out to all my people that's taking master focus, our premium herbal nootropic. Gives you that focus. Get the brain moving quickly, calculating fast. Energy, overall improvement in mood. Try masterfocus.com. If you get a subscription, email me. I'll reduce your fee for being a YouTube watcher. Steph Croner said, Blue had too many men invested in gossip. Yo, that was the thing with the Eliza Blue thing was, like, if you ever look at my Twitter feed, I usually don't deal in the gossip of politics and things. I usually just, like, leave that stuff alone, mostly because, you know, it just doesn't interest me. You know, we'll talk about it on the Thursday show or the Monday night show on Patreon with Uncle Hotep, you know, because that's what the people want to hear about. But with the Eliza Blue thing, I saw, like you said, it started with women, right? And this is one of my rules. When women got beef, it's none of my business. Women, you know, it was Brittany Venti versus Eliza Blue. That's some woman thing. I don't know nothing about it. My name Bennett. I ain't in it. But when I saw men getting involved, I was like, I kind of got to agree with you, Steph. It became very gossipy. It became very chatty patty. And that's why I was like staying away from it, because it was very chatty patty. Somebody said, I need a tinfoil cowboy hat. Yo, that'd be fire. Jonah Ryan said, DeSantis extreme rendition in chief. I like that. D Silvera, I'm gonna read your super chat again because you dropped me $50 and I appreciate you. Listen, you can forgive a mistake if it's something done out of character and not repeated. People pushing for the vacation, pushing people out of society, and stopping people from earning a living to support their families is unforgivable. I can't disagree with you on that one, man. I feel you. Jordan Ryan said, based O. Taylor's comment, how can Ben see the flaws? He is in the forest and can't see the trees. My wife's a doctor. Her career is fraudulent. Oh, my God. Jonah Ryan said, don't forget the Obama phone, Psyop in your pocket. Oh, yeah. Remember the Obama phone? Kay, what up, Kay? She said, YouTube deleted my first super chat. Too spicy. I'm going to do some promo. Maybe you guys want to call in. While I do the promo, I'll accept a few more phone calls here if y'all want. 202-596-5631. 202-596-5631. Tell me if you've forgiven people, you know, your thoughts on Psyops, et cetera, et cetera. Trish said no disagreement over here. But let me go ahead and hop in this promo. And you know we got a promo. You know we got to promote. The premier event of the year. Without people like Trish, none of this is possible. Hotep Con. It's coming. August 17th to 20th. Come hang out with me, Uncle Hotep, Cannon Hotep. The whole Hotep squad is going to be there. I love this event. It feels like a family reunion. I feel like I'm around family. Really, really enjoyed it. Just go to hotepnation.com/HotepCon, or just go to hotepnation.com and hit the Hotep Con menu button. It'll take you right there real quick. Once again, I'll run down the schedule for you. Day 1, Hotep's Been Told You Live. Me and Uncle Hotep show. We're going to do this live. That's always fun. Then right after that, we're going to have the celebrity chef tasting, 5-course meal, top-notch stuff, all premium goodness from celebrity chef Mark. That's right here. Shout out to celebrity chef Mark. What else we got? Day 2. And then last year, after that, we went out and partied. That's not on here. That's more like an optional thing. We went out party. Kim Klasick was there. We was dancing in the club, and we had a good time, man. It was a real good time seeing Kim Klasick, unwind and, just, being very youthful was really, really fun. Uncle Hotep hit a little jig. That video somewhere on my Twitter. Uncle Hotep vibing out to some hip hop music. So that was a good time. Day 2, again, breakfast, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. We'll be there. I had some people complain. They complained and said when they go to these events, like the influencer who's running the event, usually comes, they speak, and then they disappear, and they don't really see him. They do maybe a couple of photo ops, and that's it. I like to spend time with everybody that comes, man. I just think we have a really awesome crowd, so I give you guys my time. So I'll be at breakfast all morning. You'll probably see me, like, my eyes will be red, so I'll have shades on the entire weekend because I'll be jet lagged coming from the East Coast, and because I try to stay up and be up early to get as much time in with you guys as possible, answer questions, also, consultations. I'm a business guy. I do biz dev and marketing, digital marketing, et cetera. Picking my brain as far as life, politics. Some people want to know the books I've read. I'm a very avid reader, so they want to know all the forbidden books I don't talk about. So I'll share my personal library with you, all that type of stuff. So we have really good chats at breakfast. And then we'll have our speaking. So that'll be the Hotep Jesus 101. We'll have, obviously, Sonny Johnson. We'll talk about politics. Project Rook, we'll talk about mindset. She's such a mindset guru. It's absolutely amazing, some of the things that come out of her mouth on thinking. And when it comes to Psyops, this is somebody who you definitely want to listen to. I'm going to have to bring her on again to talk about that topic at some point. And then we're going to have Tanai Ricks, of course. Hold on, I got a caller. We're going to come right back to this.
Call from
Ray.
Oh, Ray, you hung up, man. Ray, call back, man. We just missed you. We're going to get you in here, man. Then day 2. So after the 101s, we usually go by, last year we did Caesar's Palace. We're going to have cameras out there. Taylor's going to be handling video production. So, we'll gather a lot of content, take pictures, do a little field trip to one of the hotel casinos. Then after that, we come back to the Ahern Hotel. We have our pool party. Uncle Hotep's going to take his shirt off, get in the pool as he does every year. Enjoy. So that's always fun, and we'll have appetizers. Then I think this year we're doing game night. So we'll probably play spades or something like that, or blackjack, or I don't know. We'll figure that out. So we'll do game night, and then we're going to give away prizes. I really want to have like a really dope giveaway. So I'm working on a really awesome giveaway with you guys for the winners of whatever that is. So we'll do a giveaway with the game night. That'll be fun. And then we'll probably hit the club after, or whatever you guys want to do. Then day 3, this last day, again, breakfast. We'll do another chat. And then you'll hit the gun range with Kana Hotep, shoot some automatic weapons, semi-automatic weapons, bazookas, grenades. Like, I don't think they have bazookas and grenades. That might be kind of wild. But yeah, you'll do that too. And then we'll have our farewell dinner, the Feast with the Hoteps. That's, again, more amazing food. Yeah, and then we'll say our goodbyes, take pictures. We usually do the group picture because everybody's in their Sunday's best. So we'll do the group picture for after that. And then And then that night, I'm usually like helping people, you know, riding with Brody, taking people to the airport and doing that whole thing. So again, bloodshot eyes, not getting no sleep, but just making sure everybody's cool. So yeah, so you get the all-inclusive pass. You can't beat this price for Vegas all-inclusive, especially with the Ahern Hotel, beautiful hotel, you know, 5-star chef. So it comes with 3-night hotel stay, 5 food experience, all access pass. The what's name is not included. The gun range is not included. That's an extra fee. We don't have anything to do with that. You got to sign waivers over there, you know, whatever. And then you'll get your extra VIP event pass. We only do VIP passes. There is no general admission. We only do VIP passes because we give our people so much. This is an exclusive event for, you know, our people, our supporters, our greatest supporters. So go to hotepnation.com and get your tickets for Hotep Con. And yeah, I hope to see you guys there. I think we just got a few more super chats. Jimmy Das Hotep. Jimmy Das Hotep was there. He says, salute HJ, appreciate the thoughts while I'm working. Hotep Con gonna come up quick. Word. Jimmy Das Hotep will be there. Shout out to Jimmy Das Hotep. Let me just say, Jimmy Das has a beautiful collection of weapons. Oh my God. It looks like he bought a gun like every time he got a paycheck from the time he turned 18. Just beautiful, beautiful collection. Oh, Kana Hotep's got a video here from the range day. Oh, dope. Let me add that to the page. Yeah, I'm gonna add that to the page, Cannon. Appreciate that. I want to add that to the page so people can see that. Boris Kofievich said, I've been watching events from way back. Most every protest movement for the 50 years has been a side run by the same folks, not friendly, as Yuri Bezmenov been told us. Now they inside the fence. Yeah, I can't disagree with that at all. I just want to say that before I get out of here, for the YouTube overlords, all of our elections are free and fair here in America, and there is no meddling of elections or rigging of elections. Just want to preface that. Trisha said Melinda Sis is a great shooter. Is she? I wouldn't put it past her. I bet she can shoot. And the jab is completely safe and effective. Anyway, I'm Hotep Jesus.
Hotep, you're a genius. HotepJesus.com.
If you're new here, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Hotep and Bill.
You hear a lot of people say this, and I totally agree with it. They say, fail fast, and it's so true. But it also ties into the procrastination conversation. What is procrastination? Procrastination is nothing more than the delay of the gifts that God is ready to present us with. And we're saying, no, we're not ready for those. How about tomorrow? Because when you're on your path, you're doing what you need to do, you tend to be in alignment, and the gifts come abundantly. So that's why sometimes we say, hey, fail fast, because if you started the project last Monday, you would have found out that the piece that is missing takes a week to come in the mail, and now your whole project's been pushed back a week. You can't even start. But if you started on Monday, you knew, oh, I'm missing this piece, so it'll be here next Monday, and now you can begin working on your project. Fail fast ties into procrastination very quickly. Also, you have a lot of people that are afraid to fail. They're afraid to make mistakes. But you have to make mistakes. You have to fail. That's the only way you learn. That's the only way you gain experience. So I want people to fail. I want people to mess up. Don't be afraid of messing up. A lot of people want perfection straight out the gate. You know, you start a podcast or a show, and the first one, they want it to be perfect straight out the gate. That's not possible. Just go. Done is better than perfect. Fail fast.
Didn't listen to me then, I bet they feel me now. Time don't let me lose it. The booth not about to prove it. I set goals and pursue it. You the best to never do it. Invest my money, talking fluent, stupid, ducking the Judas. It broke my heart, but over my eyes, you have no honor, I have no choice. chasing the commas till I'm gone. I've been left for a minute. On my way home, mama, I promise, got caught up in it. Damn. Everybody eats when I'm batting at the plate. First, second, third, home, $1 million bet.